Hello again, dear colleagues. We will hear Colonel Andriy Lysenko, who's a spokesman of the Council.
Updated information from the zone of anti-terrorist operation will be shared with us by Colonel Andriy Lysenko, who is the spokesperson for the National Security and Defense Council. Thank you.
Доброго дня, шановні колеги.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Today at 9:40 a.m. terrorists perpetrated a bloody crime not far from Luhansk on the highway between Khreshchat and Novosvitlivsk from Grad batteries and mortars transferred to the bandits from Russian Federation. The terrorists fired at the column of peaceful residents who tried to leave the zone of combat action. Many people died, including women and children. At the moment, we are trying to establish the exact number of victims. The active combat action to liberate Donetsk and Luhansk are continuing. The battles are going on in Zhdanivka, Makiyivka, Kharkiv, Debaltseve, Starobesheva vicinities. Ukrainian armed forces are working on liquidating militants in Yasenovata. Fully blocked are Horlivka, Malayvanivka, Andriyanivka, and Alchevsk. Russian mercenaries are trying to leave those places. Tonight, positions of anti-terrorist operation forces were shelled in the vicinity of Novokaterinivka, and the firing was conducted from Uragan batteries. Here you see the photo of a Russian shell that did not explode. During the 24 hours, Ukrainian forces have 25 times exchanged fire with terrorist forces in settlement in the vicinity of Майорськ, Жданівка, Авдіївка, Новокатеринівка, Червоний Яр, Березовий, Іловайськ, Жовте, Лужки, and Петрівська, Донецьк region, Ленінське, Сабівка, Лутугіна, Веселе, Тарасівка, Luhansk region. The firing on the positions of Ukrainian military from Russian territory continues. Yesterday at 11:20 a.m. from the vicinity of Avilov, Fedorivka village, Rostov region, Russian Federation, 3 salvos from Grad batteries were made in direction of the Ukrainian village Oleksiivka. At 5:40 p.m., 3 artillery salvos were fired into Ukraine from Russian Federation. Here you see the transmission. This is war is going on. You see militants from the Caucasus. You see an armored personnel carrier. This is a new type of APC which is produced in the Russian Federation, and it has a characteristic feature, a gun from Tula Armory, and the terrorists are shouting, "This is war, Allah Akbar," and Inshallah. One of the photos also has a car with number plates testifying to its belonging to Russia. The terrorists are also violating the airspace of Ukraine. Yesterday, one Russian drone was found and fired at from not far from Mariupol. Yesterday, another battalion tactical group from Yekaterinburg arrived at the vicinity of the state border of Ukraine. Also, we have detected transportation that was carrying book batteries. A Polish journalist was able to take notes to film the movement of Russian armored vehicles into Ukrainian territory. He says that right behind his shoulders you see the columns, the Russian convoys that are violating Ukrainian territory, and he says that this they saw in the night and during the day as well. Over the 24 hours, the State Emergency Service found and defused 205 units of ammunition, and 6 administrative buildings were searched and 6 hectares of territory. By 11 a.m., because of the lack of agreement of issues on the guarantees of the safety of movement of a convoy with humanitarian cargo from the side of terrorist organizations with representatives of International Red Cross, the papers were still not started to be worked upon. Yesterday, the bodyguards averted an attempt to carry part of this load to the territory of Ukraine at 12:50 p.m. at the Donetsk crossing point. 16 KAMAZ lorries and 1 fuel tank and 1 bus with as if humanitarian convoy came to the border. After this, a group of militants on 8 cars and 3 buses came to the crossing point. Ukrainian bodyguards took defense positions to repel the attack. However, after the talks with Russian bodyguards, the territories retreated into the depths of Ukraine's territory. Paul Ricard, representing OSCE, said that this organization will probably inspect the Russian humanitarian convoy on the 18th or 19th of August. The convoy is up to 30 lorries. After the inspection, the load will be given to official representatives of the Red Cross. However, even at noon, our representatives saw no documents that pertain to this convoy. In Berlin, a trilateral meeting of ministers of foreign affairs with the participation of Ukraine, Russia, Germany, and France took place. The talks were difficult. The details of the meeting will be made public by our colleagues from the Foreign Ministry. American senators from both parties showed unity about the support of Kiev in juxtaposition in the terrorists. Senators John McCain and John Donnelly addressed President Barack Obama with a letter to provide Ukraine with defense arms and reinforce the exchange of intelligence data.
What is the situation in Myrosinsk and what are the numbers of the killed and wounded? The terrorists are saying that they got this Myrosinsk back. During the last 24 hours, 9 Ukrainian guys were killed and 20 wounded. As to Myrosinsk, the combatants are trying to counterattack and to get back the territories which were taken by Ukrainian military. Ukrainian military are organizing the checkpoints, and that allows not to withdraw, but there are fierce fighting going on there. For Japanese newspaper. In the mass media, there was information that Ukrainian troops entered Lugansk and Ukrainian military hoisted the Ukrainian flag on one of the regional departments of militia. Is that true that Ukrainian troops are in Lugansk? And when this happened, if the ATO forces entered Lugansk, then which public institutions are under their control? What are the perspectives of liberating the city? Is the process of liberating Lugansk getting to an end? The answer is we do not give any details about how and what's happening, because that is the information for our units. Ukrainian military managed to get back part of the city of Lugansk, and our armed forces are holding it. I cannot tell you which one now, but the regional department of militia was liberated. Lugansk is almost all surrounded, and now the operation on liberating Lugansk is taking place. 1+1 channel. Could you please tell the situation in the south of the state at the Russian-Ukrainian border? There's information that Russians are strengthening their presence there with grads, with armored equipment. Do you have this information? And what is situation with the border guards? There's information that they don't have light there. And also, could you say a few words about this, those people who were moving in trucks or in buses? What was it? Talking about the southern border, we are monitoring the situation. There are no active actions there. We inform about the events in the ATO zone, but everything that's happening there is under the control. Those border departments, if they have no light, they have these generator engines which can supply electricity there. And also our bodyguards, they are monitoring all the situation there. And because there are no active military actions, they get everything they need, including the food products and the fuel, everything, so that they can execute their duties. As to this column with peaceful people that was shot at by terrorists, we don't have any more additional information. We are just clarifying this information because that's in the zone of active military actions.
Будь ласка, ще питання.
Journalist Butusov writes that Russian military have begun massive counterattacks in Donbass, and that starting from the 10th of August, Putin has sent to Donbass many artillery units, and that there's a lot of armored vehicles. Are we really waging war with regular Russian forces? Thank you. We will check this information. Again, he also says that Russian Federation's troops are deployed different complexes that make impossible the work of Ukrainian battle aircraft. Yes, it's true that there's a lot of batteries on the territory of the Russian Federation, including Osa, Buk. We have already said that along the border of Ukraine in Russian territory, there is almost 45,000 Russian troops. We can use our air force, but very carefully. About this convoy, is there an alternative humanitarian corridor where refugees can use? And earlier there was information that Khreshchovata was under control of Ukrainian forces. How it happened that the peaceful residents were fired upon, were shot? I must tell you that to the north of Luhansk there is a green corridor which over 2 last days was used for more than 800 people to leave Luhansk. This convoy was shelled and fired at this part of the road. This is a contended place. First, our troops liberated the city, and then there were counterattacks, and this actually became the epicenter of all the combat actions. This is why I said that this was in the active action. Was this convoy moving to Ukraine or Russia to find refuge? May we get precise information about the Russian armored vehicles convoy, numbering 150 armored vehicles that was destroyed, about which the president told us, and we don't have any data about this. We gave them an opportunity to go to the territory where there are no peaceful residents, and as soon as they were there was an artillery shelling, and most of the convoy was destroyed. I cannot give you information about Marinivka. We have to make it more precise. The convoy was an organized column which was moving along with the Ukrainian army, or was this a self-organized convoy. I cannot provide you any detailed information. We are just checking the facts. We have only the fact about the destruction of this convoy. Our military went there. About Uragan batteries, which shells, which projectiles are they using? Are those cassette bombs? You saw the non-exploded shell. It belongs to Uragan battery. They are more powerful, much more powerful than Grad, and the range of action is much, almost 3 times as big as Grad has. I'm still not in the position to tell you. Our specialists have to make their pronouncement. Yesterday, the ATO press service said that 3 officers were captured who went to parley with terrorists. They are in captivity. Where was this? We don't tell this. If there are no questions, then thank you and see you next time. I just want to tell those who were